Hey, what's up guys? So I just made top 8 at this recent YCS in Niagara. I played Punk, Tearalaments, Spright, Dangers, also known as the Power of the Elements, because the deck utilizes 3 blue and 3 Pillarinos. Huge shoutouts before we start to Dom and Fuji for essentially making the deck list. I played a bunch of Punk, Tearalaments prior, so I was very comfortable with the deck already. I knew like more of the obscure lines with Shinobi Necro and Garua to make Chaos Ruler, or like ways to access synchro combos even if you don't draw like the punk cards. And I think this was a really good deck overall because of how explosive it was. And the reason I decided to play this deck is because I believe that the punk cards and the Spright cards are better at establishing a way to Griffin Curious combo while putting up an Omni Negate prior, while utilizing the least amount of resources in order to get to your end board. I figured that the Danger Tearalaments deck was very much losing to cards like Nibiru, while this version of the deck that I played did not. And there's a lot of really cool synergies with the deck overall, and I was really glad that I did play the deck. Also, huge shoutouts to people in Bozo Cord. Huge shoutouts to Hani, Gunther, and everyone else I stayed with, Sam, Triff, Milano. Huge shoutouts to all of you guys who watch all my videos, who came up and said hi, asked for signatures, pictures, all that good stuff. It really means the world to me, and I really appreciate all your support, especially at the YCS, where a bunch of you guys just kept coming after and saying, "Yo, how are you doing?" So I really appreciate the moral support, and yeah, let's get right into the deck profile. So I have 2 Rhino Hearts, 3 Hoffness, I have 3 Sharing, and 3 Miru. I think these ratios are pretty standard, but I'll explain the reason why I only played 2 Rhino Hearts instead of 3. Miru ended up being a better normal summon more often than not because you have like Spright Blues in your deck. Also, Rhino Heart, you need to have, I could have played 1, but I chose to play specifically 2 because if you do Hoffness turn 1, there's a line in which you can end on Kaleido Heart plus Drago Sapelia. But the thing is, it banishes one of your Rhino Hearts, so you need a second one in the deck, just so that you still have access to it. I don't think I needed more Rhino Hearts. You always get access to like it if you need it, and so I think 2 was just like fine, because I didn't want to draw too many normal summons. And because of the inclusion of the Punk engine, I have extra normal summons in my deck now, so I think cutting one of the Rhino Hearts to get an additional normal summon is fine in my opinion. So, and that's going to be sort of the Tearalaments engine. The reason why the deck is called the Power of the Elements, or PTSD depending on what you prefer, is because it also utilizes a secondary engine in the form of Sprites. So I think this is a very powerful engine. I really liked it. I like the fact that I had 3 blues in my deck because if you, it gives you like an alternate game plan. Also the Spright cards, because you play Spright Blue and Spright Red. If you do the Punk combo and you mill the blue, which is the reason why to play 3, you can grab the blue off Chaos Ruler, and when you go Fiber for Necro Shinobi, you can then special blue and then grab red, which allows you to play around Nib. As I mentioned before, I think the reason to play this version of the deck rather than playing Danger Tearalaments is because the Spright cards as well as the Punk cards allows you to push through Nibiru way more efficiently, but also it allows you to make Curious and do the combo much more effectively and while providing you card advantage. Because I feel like most of the time, people who are doing like the Danger Tier combo to end on like the God board commit a lot of cards, or sometimes they don't even get to end on the full God board. Whereas I feel like this version of the deck almost always end on like the God board, which is Elf with Barone, Griffin, Drago Sapelia, or it could be Kaleido Heart, which is plus Gigantic, plus Smasher, Sulliek, and Eradicator. It's like unbeatable basically. Now for the Danger side of the engine, you play triple Nessie, 1 Tsuchinoko, and then 1 Jackalope. It's just also huge shoutouts to people who let me cards or help me find cards last minute. I was like missing a couple of stuff, and so I needed to like get cards last minute. So I appreciate you guys a lot, specifically like Nelson, Marcus, Fetty. You guys are amazing. So thank you for letting me borrow cards. But So let's get back into the profile. So I played the smallest danger package, but just basically the best ones, just to help you make curious. If you look at Spright Blue, it's a Dark Thunder, and then you have Dark Aquas, Dark Reptiles, Dark Beasts, so it helps you like get access to Curious a lot easier. The dangers were like hit or miss for me. Sometimes they were really broken, sometimes they were really bad. I think Nessie was the best one because Nessie's a level 7, which combines with Aiming, lets you make Barone to make, which is really cool. I actually did that in my one of my top cut matches in order to win, where I used Aiming plus Nessie to make Barone. But yeah, so these are just like basically like the best ones. So I didn't mind these at all. So not much to say about it. Then the punk cards. So I think these cards are kind of like, I played 1, 1, and 1. So these cards are kind of like what I think is allows you to do like the combo more efficiently, because Case Ruler mills an additional 5 cards, which makes like cards like Snow infinitely better, as you can see here. Because you're milling an extra 5 cards, your Snows can be a lot better. And the thing is, Aiming and Foxtooth are not bricks, because if Aiming doesn't resolve, Aiming allows you to get access to Fibrax. Fibrax summons Necro Shinobi, and you use your tier cards to make Garua, and Garua plus the Shinobi makes Chaos Drill anyways, so you end on Barone plus Curious anyways. So that's why it doesn't really matter that these cards get stopped. Same thing with Foxy. Foxy just generates and triggers any of your tiers, while also giving you access to Fibrax. The only real brick is like Deer Note, but Deer Note isn't even the worst brick, because if you mill your Punk Engine, then the Deer Note can be Tribute summoned and linked off in order to bring back like either a level 8 to combine with Shinobi to make Barone, or to bring back Aiming to make Fibrax to summon Shinobi from the deck, right? So that's not that bad as well. And then the other 2 cards I played monster-wise were 1 Shinobi and then 1 Garua. And then the main reason for those is they're just like basically like more tuners in the deck for Fibrax. This Strudel is a really powerful card because this Strudel allows you to do some cool level manipulation. For example, you can use the Strudel to target a Sharon, which reduces it to a level 3, and then use that plus Nessie to make an early Barone out of nowhere. You can also do another cool line where what came up for me was I use Barone, the Strudel to target level 2 to make it a 5, and then I use the Strudel plus my Dangers, like either the Jackalope, the Tsuchinoko, or a Hofness to make Chaos Ruler. So the Strudel being a level modifier allows you to access the synchro monsters in your extra deck in very cool ways. So I really like the fact that I had this in my deck, and it's an additional mill that's really powerful. And Shinobi was like really broken. I actually won a lot of my games where I hard drew it because it allows me to get access to Elf. It's a level 2, so if you there's games where I drew like Shinobi Necro plus Blue, which is also really cool because Blue being able to summon because you control Shinobi. Shinobi also saved me like a game state in which like I summoned it off Gigantic, and then I made Elf, and I brought back like cards, and I passed, and I used Snow to banish the Shinobi on my opponent's turn to book my opponent's monster, and then summon back the Shinobi. Then I used Snow plus Shinobi plus Emiru to make a Chaos Ruler. And I've also had game states where I used Snow, Sharon, and Shinobi to make a Barone out of nowhere to win the game to play around Nib. So there's a lot of really cool ways and interactions where like Shinobi Necro also works with Snow, where if you mill it, and Snow can just banish the Shinobi, which I thought was really cool as well. So like I said, there's a bunch of like really cool lines like beat interruptions, as long as you can navigate through them and figure them out. So, but this is like pretty much like the engine of the T, which is the Tearalaments, the P, which is the Punks, the D, which is the Dangers, and then the S, which is the Spright. Now into, I guess, like some of like the spells. Alright, into some of the spells, I played 3 Super Poly. I think this card is like amazing. There's not really much to say about it. It's just like an insane card that just allows you to like beat Dweller actually. And like in the mirror match, like having Super Poly actually gives you a chance to beat the mirror even when they Dweller you, which I thought was like really cool. It's not always guaranteed, but it gives you a chance, and this card gives you a lot of really cool outplay potential as well. Then I played Triple Teleport. This card is also just really broken. I side Gamma, and I would always side Gamma in going first or second. doesn't really matter. Which begs the question, maybe I should have made Gamma, but teleport is really good. It can summon a level 2 in the form of Gamma, which allows you to summon blue post side. And then of course it summons Amen. By itself does like so much with just one card. You go like plus like 5-6. Then you played a 3 Pillarino. You get access to get more consistency to your Tearalaments. The only thing you need to know about this card is that it makes your Sheeran a 2300 body, which beats over Dweller, and you might be able to outgrind the Dweller effect. I played 1 Instant Fusion just because, you know, God card. Don't really need to explain it too much. Just remember that in the mirror match, going second, summoning Mud Dragon is actually better than summoning Kikalos because it turns off all of their like really powerful effects like Stapalia, Celiac, as well as like the Field Spell Pop, as well as their Colorado Heart. So I actually Instant Fusion for Mud Dragon sometimes as well, and that's important to know. And then for like the Spice is that I saw no one really played that much. Forbidden Droplets. I thought this card was actually really powerful because it gives you a chance to beat Dweller in the mirror match. Going first is better than Dark Ruler because it can also be an interruption. And it actually won me one of my games because having this card going first after getting hand trapped. Alright, yeah, so I'm really glad I played Forbidden Droplets. There's like, you know, you play like a lot of spells. Most people don't negate your field spells, so it took a free send off Forbidden Droplets. Having Teleport to Chain to Droplets is also really nice. So yeah, this card was like really good for me. I definitely don't regret playing it at all. And then for the traps, like the win conditions, 2 Celiacs, and then Eradicator. This is what I prioritize with Curious going first. I don't prioritize Snow. I think you'll just hit Snow off your random mills because you mill 13 in your combo with Miru, Chaos Ruler, as well as Kikalos, and then you'll mill 6 more in your opponent's turn with Hoffness and Miru. So you're gonna mill 19 cards. You'll probably see Snow anyways. But this is a card that I prioritize going first in my combo almost always to like end on that lock to Eradicator my opponent and then pretty much seal the deal. So yeah, that's pretty much the main deck. 44 cards. Dom played 43. I think Dom and Fuji played 43. I just put in the third Droplets because there's no way I was ever playing a card that powerful at 2 essentially. So I played the third. But for the side deck, I played triple Nibiru for the mirror match. I figured that most people will still be playing the Danger Tearlaments version, which like I said, I believe it's like a way weaker into Nibiru. I figured like I still play this card. And then Gamma, this card was like so broken. I sided this card in going first or second. It just doesn't matter what deck they were playing. I actually made day 2 because round 8, I Gamma Shifter going first, then special blue, add red, special red, and then use Gamma and Driver to make Chaos Rule, and that was game. Another cool interaction was that I actually sided Driver into like the Runic Mind matchup because it allows me to tribute set over my monsters so that my opponent can't activate like Freezing Curse or like any of their rune cards, like pop my monster or like negate it because it's a normal monster and it's a tribute monster, so it's not able to interact with those type of cards, which under mine is like really good. So I actually won a game because of Driver, which I thought was really cool. Yeah, these cards were broken. Like post side, I put this in going first so that my teleport has the option of summoning level 2. So if I open like a hand in which I can already like combo really well. Like I'll give you the example where I open like Amen, Teleport, and Blue. So I went like Teleport for Gamma. And if my opponent, you know, ashes it, I can just Gamma them, and then like, which is like crazy because then you get make Chaos Ruler Baron before anything else. But he lets it go, and you summon Gamma from the deck. Then you go special blue, blue gets red, then you special red. Then after that, you normal summon Amen, and you do this full punk combo while having protected by red, which is like really nice. I also sided Abyss Dweller as one of my options because basically the way you lose your current board, like you know the Griffin board, is through Lava Golem and Sphere modes. And the best way to beat those type of cards is to Dweller your opponent in draw phase to play around Lava Golem Sphere mode in the mirror match. Which, you know, some people might play that version of the deck, like Triff. So I wanted to be prepared for it, to be honest. I actually only sided this card in once against Gunther in top 8. Other than that, it never really came up for me. the board going first was already really broken, and when you have Nightmare Griffin up, you don't need to dwell your opponent because Nightmare Griffin is basically dweller on steroids. I played 2 Spell Canceller because I also play 3 Anti-Magic Arrow, and I guess this is like the spice. So basically against the Runic Mind deck, which I was really afraid of, you would Anti-Magic Arrows your opponent. You would tribute set like a Spell Canceller, right? And then you would attempt to go battle like, and then you would wait a turn. Because if you normal summon and tribute summon for a Canceller, they'll definitely just Judgment it and you'll just lose. So the best way to outplay Judgment is to go like, set Spell Canceller, pass. Next turn you go Anti-Magic Arrows, and then main phase 2 you flip up Spell Canceller, and they can't Judgment like the Spell Canceller because they're under arrows. And then after that, it doesn't matter if they have like 2-3 floods. You just establish and stuck your Spell Canceller, and they can't clear it. So you just keep attacking for 1800 every turn until you win the game. So, yeah, this card was like really good for me. I really like this card. It only came up in that one matchup, but that's all I needed. You don't want to like lose to like Runic Mind and just take a free L for no reason. So. Also played Reboot. The reason why Anti-Magic Arrows was played was because most people are not going to preemptively flip their floods. When you go draw phase, standby phase, main phase, attempt to enter battle phase, most people perception of that sequence of wording are going to be assuming that you have an evenly match. So they're not going to preemptively flip up their floodgates, which allows you to Anti-Magic Arrow at the start of battle phase, which turns off all their back row. And then in main phase 2, you just 0 Boros all their back row, and then set up like a really powerful board afterwards. The last card was just like a time card. There's not really much to say about it. I think with 45 minutes, I do think time cards are inherently going to be a lot worse. So I think that's a good thing though, having more time, because the thing is, the way the Yu-Gi-Oh is right now, the game states are very complex. The boards are actually very complex. It's actually not always an auto win, first or second. It's actually a lot more interactivity. But as a result of interactivity, more time is going to be taken to kind of like break each other's board and set up each other's boards. So it's just unfortunate you have to play time cards like these, but that's just the way it is right now. For my extra deck, I played 5 fusions. So I think you only need 5. I know some people play double Kikalos because they're afraid of it getting smashered, or it gets stopped by Dino Mishes or something along those lines, which is fair. So like going second, a second Kikalos can definitely come up. But I find myself going second lines into decks that have smashers like the Spright deck. I usually just go for a dark, take their blue, and establish I just basically break their board and then and on a Spright board to beat them. So I feel like I didn't really need a second one. Also, going first, if you manage your resources correctly, you should be able to loop these fusions. So what I mean by this is like you use your first tier monster to summon Kikalos. And then Kikalos will be put back with a tier monster to make Garua. And then when you make the next fusion, you put back the Garua to make Drago Sapelia. Or you put back Garua to make Mudragon. And as you can see here, the sequencing of your fusion summonings will always put them back in and out so that you don't need to play more. Just in case people weren't aware. And that's the reason why I felt like I didn't need two Kikalos. For my Link monsters, I played Spright Elf. I think this is like one of the best Link monsters in the game. I love this card. This card is like so good. There's a lot of really cool lines where like you mill Necro Shinobi, you go for the Fiber line where you go like Fiber, summon Shinobi, and then you get to make Elf. Elf brings back Shinobi, which gives you an extra dark monster to make Curious, which is like really nice. But the second Elf comes up in the grind game a lot for me. I really like that card. One Dark Charmer, it's really good if you're playing Spright cards in your deck, because then you can like grab, and against like Spright decks, you can just grab their monsters. In the mirror match, you grab their Miru, mill 3, and then use it to make Elf, or overlay with their Miru, which is like kind of nice. Fibrax, there's not much to say about it. It can summon Gamma post side, usually summon Shinobi, summon Aemon, a bunch of cool lines. Summoning Aemon all Fibrax comes up too because it's a level 3 tuner and you can use that with Kikalos that's got Imperm to make Chaos Ruler. So, one Curious, it's basically the wall chain. There's no reason not to play it. It's quite easy to access. One Griffin, this is like probably the best card of my extra deck, to be quite honest. I summon that card a lot and it's just so broken. Like, people think that this card just sets a back row, but in reality it's also a floodgate monster, and it's just like so insane. Zero Boros, I barely summoned this card, but whenever I did, I won. So it came up once for me, and that's the one time I needed it to like come up, and that was fine. But I barely summoned this card. It only came up once in that very, 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 very crazy grind game. For my synchros, I played Chaos Ruler and Baron. Yeah, these cards are really good. I mean, I'm really, really glad I had these cards in my extra deck. Because I think like being able to synchro summon is like really cool. I got D-Bears for fusions, and I just like did link plays with fusion monsters. I mean with synchro monsters to like kill my opponent. And then one Gigantic because it allows you to get access to a 3200 Dark Monster for Eradicator. Also in like certain grind games, it allows you to actually beat your opponent's Nibru, which I thought was really nice as well. And yeah, this card's like really insane. That's going to be pretty much the deck, guys. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts. I really, really enjoyed playing this deck. It was a lot of fun for me. I think the tier engine is like very, very powerful, but I do acknowledge that like the Spright cards are also like insane in their own way. So why not just play all of them together? But yeah, that's pretty much the deck, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the profile, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.